Hi there, this is Jonny Miller from Point Blank Online Music School. Back once more, right here to show you some cool stuff with Ableton Live 8 and sounds and samples from clickproduce.com. Today I'm going to be looking at a Loopmasters sample library called Utah Saints by the Utah Saints, who were a very successful dance band in the 1990s. There's a real old school flavour to these loops. I really like them, and of course the old school sound is quite trendy right now in all forms of music: electro, dubstep, house. Yeah, it's a good library to go through. What we've got here, 3 folders. We've got a Rex files folder, so you've got the whole Utah Saints library in Rex file format. So that's great if you use Propellerhead Reason software, for instance. And you can also use these Rex files in Ableton. But we don't really need to. I've got the other 2 folders here, which is sounds and effects, which are just WAV file format. And we've got little single hits and bass notes, loads of useful stuff. And also this folder of, this is the main folder of loops, bass, drums, leads, music, and percussion. Now I'm going to show you a cool technique today, which is what Live is really best at, which is editing audio, which is going in with a knife and fork, as it were, and cutting up the audio and rearranging things in real time in front of you. So it's a really cool thing to try, and these music loops are ideal for this, really. Again, they all have quite a kind of old school flavour to them. So they're all really usable. And again, if you watch my tutorials regularly, you'll kind of understand that I like to take a loop or a sound and kind of make it my own somehow. It's a good thing to do with sample packs, so you really feel that you're sort of putting a lot of your own input into there. Okay, so this loop here, now notice I've put this straight into a range view. Normally we would start in session view. This is where most Ableton users kind of gather their ideas together and start tracks. But I've loaded this straight into a range view because I want to be able to see the loop in real time. And like I said earlier, just go in with my knife and fork or my editing tools that are within Ableton and go in and cut things up and rearrange things. So it's much, much better to start here. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in a bit. And I don't need all of this. I'm just going to take the first 2 bars actually. And at the moment, the fixed grid is set to 1 bar. Now the fixed grid, if I right click on my mouse, a little dialog box comes up and we've got these fixed grid settings here. And this is literally the different divisions that we have in our workspace. So for instance, at the moment, all the blocks you can see represent 1 bar. And if I just highlight a region, it snaps to the nearest 1 bar. I'm going to keep it on there for a second and just highlight these first 2 bars and do the first of the 2 keystrokes, the 2 key commands that are really good to learn that I'm going to concentrate on this tutorial. The first one is Command E, and that separates a clip. It creates a new clip. So I can actually take this second half of the loop and just hit backspace and delete it, and I'm left with my first 2 bars. Now I'm going to zoom in again and change the fixed grid to 1/16. And this will give me 16th notes. Every individual increment here that I can see is a 16th note, 16 per bar. So what I can now do is go in and start to kind of cut things up, again using Command E to separate certain sounds. But also another keystroke, Command D, to duplicate. So if I take this first 4/16ths here, and if I just highlight that audio and then just hit Command D, that's duplicate. And that will copy that first little block over into the next 4/16th notes next door. And I can start to just do that and create, again, if I just use Command D, little kind of glitches and repeats here and there. And the nice thing about Ableton is you can do this actually while the loop plays. You don't have to stop. So just for the next minute or so, I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to zoom in nice and big so you can see real clear what I'm doing. I'm going to go in and use those 2 key commands to cut up and duplicate certain sections of the audio to create kind of a glitchy effect. And in some circumstances as well, I'll actually copy over what I've done before. The idea is quite fluid. So here, for instance, I might not keep this exactly the same as the first 2 beats. I might change that. here I've made a bit of a mistake, so I'm going to undo with Command Z. And that's the nice thing about working like this, is that you can try stuff out, and if it doesn't work, just quickly undo it by hitting Command Z, and all the keystrokes are real close together. Okay, so here at the end of the bar I've got a nice little section with 3/16, and that gives us a slightly different feel to the rhythm. I'll just put the click track on there so you can hear. Okay, now lastly I'm going to use a function called consolidate, which basically allows me to take all these individual little bits and sew them all together. If I just highlight the whole region and hit Command J, I always think Command J for join, and even though the function is called consolidate, I've now got that back into one block, into one clip, and I could just start again. I could maybe take certain aspects of this and reverse them. So I'm going to take this little section here, Command E to cut it up, and now I'm going to double click into the clip and just hit the reverse button down here, and that's just going to reverse that little section. Let's see how this sounds. We get that nice kind of warped reverse feel on that note. Let's do a little bit more of that. Let's take this section, Command E, double click and reverse. Once again, once I'm happy with that, highlight everything, Command J to consolidate. So I've taken the loop and completely changed the feel of it. I could change the key as well just by transposing. We've done some stuff on that before. So let's listen back to the original sample now. Remember, I only used the first two bars. Let's listen to what I've done with it now. Okay, you can learn loads of cool stuff like this at pointblankonline.net. And I'll be back once more next week to show you some cool stuff on Ableton, featuring sounds from clickproduce.com. Okay, peace.